Hey friends, happy Wednesday, the 24th of April. It's nice to be with you. I'm Father Bill Hill, priest at Holy Spirit Catholic Community in Rock Springs, Wyoming. I will share with you a reflection on the daily readings. When you're done, you're going to read the readings prayerfully, click on it. They're listed down below, linked down below. Then you're going to turn off the screen, spend some time with God before you move on to other things. Fourth week of Easter. We're about halfway through in this Easter time. Still plenty of time for us to be rejoicing and giving thanks for all that God has done for us. Hey, one parish request. If you have any graduating seniors, please make sure to let the parish office know. We would love to make sure that they know about a graduation mass coming up in May, but also we'd love to get a senior picture of them in order to celebrate them. So yeah, seniors from high school, we would love to know who you are, all right? So, we are working on the Acts of the Apostles and on the Gospel of John. Yesterday we heard about Barnabas recruiting Saul in order to begin missionary journeys. We get a little bit more of a snapshot in the church in Antioch. One is that it wasn't just isolated, but that they were concerned about other Christians. And so at the very beginning of this, we hear about a relief mission that Saul and Barnabas go on. That's to take care of poor Christians in Jerusalem in particular. And then we also appreciate that there are many people in this church in Antioch. It's not just the Saul and Barnabas show, but it really is a community of faith. Maybe as we think about Antioch, a good opportunity is just to reflect on the blessings and the challenges that you experience in your community of faith. How is it that your involvement in faith community helps to make you a better Christian? Where are the ways that the Lord speaks to you through your faith community? We hear that it is in prayer and fasting and in communal activity that the Lord speaks. Set aside for me Saul and Barnabas for the work that I have appointed them. And then they are sent forth as missionaries to spread the good news of Jesus. This first missionary journey, they begin in Cyprus. And you can hear the first place that they go to share the good news of Jesus is always to the synagogue. This is very much the standard pattern that we see in the Acts of the Apostles in the missionary activity of Saul, who becomes Paul, right? First, the synagogues, and then if Jewish folks do not want to hear about the crucified Christ, then Paul will go and share the good news outside to the Gentiles. We'll encounter that in a few days. How is it that the Lord is inviting us to share the good news in these days? Easy to lose sight every day that we are the light of the world, and we are called to share that God has made a difference in our lives through Jesus Christ. I would draw your attention, I think that tomorrow we have the feast day of Mark, the gospel writer. Today, it just kind of happens to line up beautifully with one of the earliest Easters ever that we hear in the Acts of the Apostles about John Mark. And so we'll celebrate Mark tomorrow. Gospel of John. Jesus speaks about judgment and about light and about condemnation. Jesus says he doesn't come into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world. But that if we reject his works, if we reject who he is, then that's making the decision for ourselves. Jesus says that the Father who sent him, I did not speak on my own, but the Father who sent me commanded me what to say and what to speak. And we'll encounter this a little bit later on this week as well, when Jesus says, the Father and I are one. But just to imagine that the words coming out of Jesus' mouth are the words of God the Father. We can have that bad breakdown in our mind where we can read the Old Testament and just be shocked by things. We think, oh, that's, quote unquote, the Old Testament God. I really like the Jesus, right? God is one. God is one. And while God may speak in the Old Testament and be understood in the Old Testament in a different sort of a way because of the culture of of our ancestors in faith, it doesn't mean that there's a division in God. And whenever we want to understand who God is, what God is, Jesus shows us who God is. To just think, earlier this week we heard Jesus saying, I am the good shepherd. My sheep know my voice. When we listen to the voice of Christ, that voice of mercy and love and forgiveness and tenderness and challenge and cajoling, right? When we listen to that voice of Jesus, we hear the voice of the Father. What do we need to hear today from the voice of the Lord? Read those readings prayerfully, turn off the screen, spend some time with God. Pray for folks having a hard time. God bless y'all.